Hello everyone, this is part 4 video on past year NEET questions from the chapter D and F block elements. Now those who are looking at this video can probably take a look at the other 3 parts also so that you will have continuity. We will start with a question that has come in 2011. This is a straight question based on the potassium dichromate reaction. Acidified K2Cr2O7 solution turns green when Na2SO3 sodium sulfite is added to it. This is due to the formation of. So what happens, the acidified potassium dichromate is going to oxidize sulfite. It will be oxidizing sulfite to sulfate. So sulfite ion, right, SO3 2 minus will be oxidized to what? Sulfate, and the oxidation is being done by dichromate. So what will be the reaction? Acidified dichromate, it will be converting itself into chromium sulfate, and thereby it will be releasing the nascent oxygen. The nascent oxygen is what will be able to oxidize sulfite into sulfate. So since here we will get 3 oxygens, the requirement will be what? 3 sulfite molecules will be converted to 3 sulfate molecules. If you look at the overall reaction, right, so what will be the overall reaction? We can balance it. But the point is, the question they are asking is the reason why it is turning green. So the green color is because of the chromium sulfate. So formation of chromium sulfate is the reason for the green color. So the correct answer is option A. So again, you know, we have probably discussed this in one of the previous part videos also. In D and F block elements, we have to look at the KMnO4 reactions and K2Cr2O7 reactions. Just like in hydrogen chapter, we will particularly give emphasis on H2O2 reactions, that is in the hydrogen chapter. So here we will give emphasis on these two. So when it comes to D and F block means we have to particularly look at the KMnO4 reactions and K2Cr2O7 reactions, because quite a number of times they have asked questions on these two. Okay, so the correct answer for this is option A. Let's move on to the question that has come in 2010. Which of the following ions will exhibit color in aqueous solutions? Now color in aqueous solutions comes because of what? It comes because of the unpaired electrons. If you look at lanthanum 3+, what is lanthanum? It is xenon 4f0, F will not start, 5d1 6s2. After lanthanum, so this is lanthanum. After lanthanum we will get cerium. So from here cerium onwards we will start entering electrons into 4f. This is where the lanthanides will begin. Okay, so lanthanum atomic number 57. So lanthanum 3+ means what? We will remove 2 electrons from 6s and 1 electron from 5d. Means this is going to have xenon arrangement. So lanthanum 3+ means what? It will be having the xenon arrangement. Titanium 3+. What is titanium 3+? Titanium is argon 3d 2 4s2. This is titanium. Titanium 3+ means it will be what? Argon 3d1. It will have unpaired electrons. Whereas if you look at scandium, scandium is what? Scandium comes before titanium, right? So argon 3d1 4s2, first member of the 3d series. So scandium 3+ means these electrons will be removed. It will be what? Simply argon structure. Again, no unpaired electrons. And lutetium. So lutetium is basically the last element, right? So xenon, we have 4f14, 5d1, 6s2, last element of the 4f series. Removing 3 electrons means what we are going to get? Xenon 4f14. Again, no unpaired electrons will be there. The only case where we have unpaired electrons is titanium 3+, and the color is because of the unpaired electrons. So the ions that have unpaired electrons, right, they will exhibit the color in solution, and the reason for the color is attributed to the transitions of these electrons. So the d electron that is there, it can have d to d transitions because of interaction with the surrounding water molecules, and that will be resulting in the emission of particular radiation. That is the attribution for the color. So we see that titanium is the only one that is having the unpaired electrons. It is having the 3d1. So 1 electron is there, 1 unpaired electron is there. Whereas the others, right, they don't have any unpaired electrons. So the one that is going to have color in aqueous solution will be titanium 3 plus. And not only in this case, in most of the other situations also, whenever they're talking about the color of the ions, right, we have to look for the existence of the unpaired electrons. Generally, this is a general reason that is attributed for the color is whenever there are unpaired electrons, the unpaired electrons can have these transitions, and that will give rise to the respective colors of these ions or substances. Okay, so the answer for this is option B. Let's move on to the question that has come in 2010. This is even more straightforward question, just a question based on the electronic arrangement. Look at this. Which of the following ions has electronic configuration argon 3d6 straight? So what are these ions? First of all, let us look at these elements now. So what are these elements? Manganese, iron, cobalt, nickel. Okay, so what is manganese? 3d5 4s2. Argon is there, but we are not representing. We are looking at only the 3d and 4s level. Iron is what? 3d6 4s2. Cobalt 3d7 4s2. Nickel 3d8 4s2. This is the arrangement, right? Now we have to look at the 3 plus trivalent ions. We have to remove 3 electrons. Means if you remove 3 electrons, means 2 will go from 4s, 1 electron will go from 3d, means 3d4. So this is the trivalent ion electronic arrangement. So in this case it will be what? 3d5. In this case it will be what? 3d6. In this case it will be what? 3d7. What they are asking, which of them will have before this, what is there? Argon is there. So argon 3d4, argon 3d5, argon 3d6, argon 3d7. So which of them is having argon 3d6? It's a straight question, right? What is it? It is basically cobalt 3 plus. So cobalt 3 plus will be having the arrangement of argon 3d6. And remember, whenever we are removing electrons, we remove the electrons from the outermost shell. So in case of the D block elements, right, first we have to remove the electrons from the S, because S will be the outermost. We see that in case of 3D, in this case what we are discussing, 3D series, right? For 3D series, if you look at the outermost shell will be what? 4th shell. So first we have to remove electrons from 4s, and then only we will start removing electrons from 3D. Clear? Let's move on to next question. This is another theoretical question. This has come in again 2010. Which of the following pairs has the same size? So we have iron 2 plus, nickel 2 plus. Where do these come? These iron 2 plus and nickel 2 plus, they will come in 3D series, right? Fico, nickel. So iron, cobalt, nickel. So iron 2 plus. So what will be the arrangement of iron 2 plus? It will be 3d6. Nickel 2 plus is what? 3d8. So you will not see that their sizes are going to be similar. Whereas if you look at the zirconium and hafnium, so these elements, right? So whenever we see these elements, it's a very standard question. The effect of lanthanide contraction, right, is clearly understood by the similarity in terms of the sizes of zirconium and then hafnium. So zirconium, right, Zr will have atomic number 40, hafnium will have atomic number 72. So while we enter, because zirconium comes in the 5th period, hafnium comes in the 6th period. So as you go down the group, they will belong to same group. As we go down the group, what we expect? Since we are adding more number of shells, we will expect the size is going to increase. But before we reach hafnium, right, here we can see the lanthanoids will come from 57 to 72. So the poor shielding effect of these lanthanoids, right, poor shielding effect of these 4f electrons will result in what we famously call as the lanthanoid contraction. As a result of it, the zirconium and then hafnium will be almost having similar sizes. And same way, the Zr4 plus and hafnium 4 plus also will be having similar sizes. So the correct answer for this is what? Zirconium 4 plus and then hafnium 4 plus, they will have similar sizes. This is attributed for what? It is attributed for the lanthanoid contraction. It is attributed for the lanthanoid contraction. Next we have a question, it's a straight question on the oxidation states of lanthanoids. Which of the following oxidation states is the most common among the lanthanoids? So what is the oxidation state that is most common among the lanthanoids? It is the 3. So generally we also see that some cases a +2 or a +4 can also be possible, but this will be possible only when we are able to achieve a more stable electronic arrangement, like 4f0 or 4f7 or 4f14. So after removing 2 electrons or 4 electrons, if we are able to achieve a very stable arrangement like 4f0 or 4f7 or 4f14, then in those cases we can also have what, a +2 and +4. But the most common oxidation state of lanthanoids is what? It is +3. So the correct answer for this is option D. Next we have a match type of question. I think while discussing this type of question, we would have probably told that these questions can be kind of easy if we are able to at least map some of these options. Even sometimes we are not aware about all these given options and the corresponding matching, right? If you are at least able to match some of them, you can get through with the correct answer. So look at this question. This has come in the year 2010. This is about the compound and the respective manufacturing process. So we have to match. So match list 1 is giving us the substances, and list 2 is giving us what? Processes. So why this is given in the D and F block chapter? Because if you see on the left side, right, there is almost no correlation between these. So once we are saying sulfuric acid, other thing is what? Steel, then sodium carbonate, then ammonia. What is the correlation between all of them? Because for all of these processes, right, we do use some or the other type of catalysts. Okay, that is the reason why we are having it in the D and F block. And most of the catalysts, right, for the manufacturing, industrial manufacturing process, they will be what? The D block elements. So look at this, sulfuric acid. So what is sulfuric acid? It's a straight, what is sulfuric acid? It is manufactured by the contact process, where we use V2O5 as a catalyst. It will convert SO2 to SO3. So sulfuric acid is what? Contact process, means A should be matched to 4. Where is A matching to 4? Check it. So here A is matching to 1, out. Here A is matching to 1, out. So we should look at either C or D. Clear. Now the second thing is what? Steel. So steel is manufactured by which process? If you look at the other options, right, Haber's process, Bessemer process, and then Leblanc process. So Bessemer converter is a method to convert the iron straight into steel during the production. So the steel is manufactured by which method? It is manufactured by the Bessemer process, which means B should be matched to 2. We can see here B is matched to 2 is only happening in option D, which means we got our answer. What is the answer? Option D must be the answer. Without even going for the other matching, right, we are able to conclude what is the answer. Okay. Now anyway, look at it. So what is the next one? Sodium carbonate. So sodium carbonate is manufactured by Leblanc process. So what is Leblanc process? Starting from sodium chloride and sulfuric acid, if you treat them, then we will get sodium sulfate. Sodium sulfate with coke, it will give us sodium sulfide, and sodium sulfide with calcium carbonate, okay, limestone, it will give us calcium sulfide and sodium carbonate. We can see all these are the products. The Leblanc process, right, what will be the products of the Leblanc process? HCl, CO2, calcium sulfide, and then sodium carbonate. So Leblanc process is for what? Manufacture of sodium carbonate. And ammonia, we know it is manufactured by what? Haber's process. The combination of nitrogen and hydrogen to give ammonia is what? Haber's process. So the correct answer for this is option D. Next we have a question that has come in 2007. Identify the incorrect statement among the following. Means we have to find out what is the wrong statement or the incorrect statement. So this is like 4 questions put into one. Lanthanoid contraction is the accumulation of successive shrinkages. So as we move from the cerium to lutetium, right, so when the atomic size is continuously or successively decreasing, the total accumulation of this is what we call as the lanthanoid contraction. So which is correct? So option A is correct, and we are looking for what is the wrong one. Option B is saying what, as a result of the lanthanide contraction, the properties of 4D series of the transition elements have no similarities with 5D series. In fact, if you look at this is what 3D, right? Scandium and all that is what 3D. This is 4D and this is 5D. So when you move from 4D to 5D, that is where you have the lanthanides coming. When you're moving from 4D to 5D, like in one of the previous problem also we were explaining how zirconium and hafnium, they'll have almost similar sizes and similar properties. In fact, the 4D and 5D, right, they'll have more similar properties. Their properties will have more similarities than what we see in between 3D and 4D. Okay, because of the lanthanide contraction only they have similarities. So here we are saying that the option statement is saying what, as a result of the lanthanide contraction, the properties of 4D and 5D have no similarities. Means this is wrong, because they in fact have similarities because of the lanthanide contraction. So we are looking for the wrong statement or incorrect one. So statement B is incorrect one. We can look at statement C also. The shielding power of 4f electrons is quite weak. I mean, that is the reason why we have the lanthanide contraction. The shielding power is what, S electrons will be more than P electrons, more than D electrons, more than F. Okay, so this is also correct statement. There is a decrease in the radii of the atoms as one move from lanthanum to lutetium. I mean, so we don't need to say lanthanum, we can even say cerium, because lanthanides will not involve lanthanum. So lanthanides will be starting from cerium onwards. Okay, but this is also correct. We'll see that the size is going to be decreasing. So the one that is incorrect is what, statement B. Next we have a question that has come in the year 2008. The correct order of decreasing second ionization enthalpy. So what are these elements? The element given to us are titanium, okay, so vanadium, chromium and manganese. Second ionization enthalpy means what? After we remove an electron, we will form monovalent ions. So now to remove the next electron, right, whatever the energy required is what you call as the second ionization enthalpy. So from here, from titanium +1 to +2, vanadium +1 to +2, chromium +1 to +2, manganese +1 to +2. The energy required to make this transition is what we call as the second ionization enthalpy. Now if you look at this, right, ionization enthalpy in any D series, this is the 3D series, right, as we move from left to right, this is like a period. 3D series is what, it is a period, right, they are all in the fourth period. 3D series comes in which period? It comes in the fourth period. Okay, the atomic size is going to decrease and ionization enthalpy values are going to be what, increasing. Means what we expect, we'll expect that the manganese will be more than chromium, will be more than vanadium, will be more than titanium. So this is the expected thing. But if you look at the chromium, so always we have to keep looking for the chromium case, since it is going to be having the anomaly. Or otherwise, whenever there is a question on the ionization enthalpy, if you are trying to move out of a very stable arrangement, because what is chromium plus means? Chromium plus means what? 3d5. Because chromium, what is the chromium arrangement? 3d5 4s1. Chromium plus means it will have 3d5. So when you try to remove an electron from 3d5, it is like we are disturbing the stable half-filled d structure. So in this case of chromium, right, we will be requiring a higher amount of energy to remove this electron from 3d5 structure. That is the reason why the actual trend will be chromium in fact will be more than the manganese itself. Chromium more than manganese, more than vanadium, more than titanium. So the correct answer for this is what? Option C. Generally when we move from left to right, we see that it is going to increase. But in case of chromium, right, particularly about the second ionization enthalpy, what is happening here? We are moving out of the 3d5 structure to remove that electron. That is why that is going to be requiring more amount of energy. So the correct answer for this is option C. Next we have a question that has come in the year 2007. Which one of the following ions is most stable in aqueous solutions? Now the stability of ions in aqueous solutions, right, is attributed for the extent of hydration. the stability of ions in aqueous solution is attributed to what? Extent of hydration. So any ion, we're talking about the positive ions here, right? Any ion, the number of water molecules it is surrounded by, that will represent what is the amount of hydration energy, and that is what is going to be the determinant for the stability. So if you look at these ions, all of them are what? These are all the elements of the 3D series. So titanium, vanadium, chromium, manganese. So all of them are trivalent ions, +3, +3, +3, +3. Now if you look at the thing about these ions, the vanadium and titanium +4 state will be more stable in the aqueous solution, both for vanadium as well as titanium. Whereas for manganese, it will be +2, which will be more stable. And this is, again, I am saying it is based upon what? The extent of hydration. So the case of chromium, we will see that the +3 oxidation state will be more stable in the aqueous solution because of the extent of hydration. So these elements, right, like say if you look at vanadium or titanium, while they can form +3 state, the more stable oxidation state in aqueous solution will be what? +4. For the manganese, it is going to be what? +2 and not the +3. Manganese as such can show 6 oxidation states. I mean, even manganese can show +1 also, but manganese +1 is not identified to be a very stable state for its compounds in air. But the stable state for the manganese in aqueous solution will be what? Mn +2. For the chromium only, the +3 will be more stable in the aqueous solution. So the correct answer for this is option D, which is chromium 3+. Next we have a question that has come in the year 2009. Which one of the following elements with the following outer orbital configuration may exhibit largest number of oxidation states? So what are these elements? 3d5-4s1, 3d5-4s2, 3d2-4s2 and 3d3-4s2. So these elements are all what? The 3D series elements, right? 3d2-4s2 means what? This is titanium. 3d2-4s2. 3d3-4s2 is what? 3d3-4s2 is vanadium. Then we have chromium. What is chromium? 3d5-4s1. Then we have manganese. 3d6-4s2. So in the 3D series, right, or 4D or any D series, as the number of electrons in the D level is increasing up to the middle of the series, we will see that the possible number of oxidation states also will be increasing. Like we can see, scandium can show +2, +3. Titanium can show 3 states. Vanadium can show 4 oxidation states. Chromium can show +1, +2, +3, +4, +5 and +6, but +2, +3, +6 will be what? Relatively more stable. Manganese can again show +2, +3, +4, +5, +6, +7. In case of manganese, +2, +4 and +7 will be what? Relatively more stable. Remember, in the previous case we were discussing about this. For the chromium, right, we'll see that the +3 is going to be a stable one. So even in the aqueous solution also it will be stable. Now the thing is, if we have to look at which of them is going to be having the large number of oxidation state, we'll see. But before we discuss about it, after the middle, right, once we reach the peak, manganese, what is happening? It is now decreasing. As the D electrons are getting paired up, right, the possible number of oxidation states is going to be decreasing. So that is what we see. Initially till the middle of the series it will be increasing the possible number of oxidation states. After that it will be decreasing. Now between chromium and manganese, right, so this is what is it? Titanium, and this is vanadium. So this is having only 3, this is having 4, and what we see is both of them, chromium and manganese, both of them are having 6. And I was mentioning about manganese possibility of having +1. So there are compounds of manganese where the existence of +1 oxidation state is also proved, but the stability of these compounds in the air is a matter of question. But you know, if you are to look at comparatively, right, so we can say manganese can even show +1, which means what? Manganese can have higher number of oxidation states than chromium. So between the two, right, which one we can choose? We can choose manganese. Clear? So the correct answer for this is what? Option B. So this is about this part video, and we'll see in the next part.